Hey, welcome back to the Spark Faith Podcast. I am Dr. Chris Sargent, and how you doing? It is December 28th on this recording, and we've been through a chunk of the holidays. We have one more kind of bigger weekend coming up, and I know that I decided to kind of not worry about it this year and sum up a couple pounds, feel a little squishy, not feeling great. How about you guys? How are you doing out there? Are you ready to whoa, I am so ready to detox or clean up or reset, as I have put in our Facebook group. This is the January reset. And so I started thinking about over the years, like how many times I've walked people through a detox situation and how many questions come up about detox and what about juice fasting and what about water fasting and what about fasting in general, like what is all that, and then what does detox mean anyhow? So I'm putting together, this will be your resource for everything that you need to know about detox, before you get started, so that you can head down the right path and not have, and not crash and burn, right? Like that's the whole thing, like, oh, I made it a day, but that was as far as I can make it. So let's see if we can put our heads and our hearts and our minds around this detox thing. So let me summarize like 7 things that we're going to talk about today, and then I'm going to dive into each one a little bit deeper. But what is this whole fasting thing? What is a juice cleanse? What about protein sparing? What does all that mean? And what does detoxing actually mean? And what is it that you're actually trying to get out of it versus what are you doing to get to make it happen, right? So that's the one thing we're going to talk about. Then there are two basic principles of functional medicine that are at play. Um, First is, does your diet provide everything that your body needs? And second is, what are you putting into your body that's probably aggravating it and that you are that you need to detox from, right? Like, is it the alcohol? Is it the junk food? Is it the ultra processed? Like, what are you putting in there that you need to detox it for? And then first, like, how is your gut functioning overall right now? Right? Maybe you haven't been so great in the holidays, and maybe your gut's not functioning the way you would like it to. So how is your gut functioning right now? And making some assumptions around leaky gut is probably a good thing to do. We don't need to do a lot of tests. If we've mistreated our body for a few weeks, we probably have some leakiness happening or starting to happen. So yeah, so there's that. And then what is liver cleanse and what's a liver detox and what is the overall detox thing? And what about activated charcoal? And what about all of those things or bentonite clay? Um, do we need to do that? What do we really need to do to create detox in our body? And then I want to talk about some positive and negative side effects, right? Because there's a lot of positive that can happen when you do this. And there's some negative things that you should know about ahead of time so that we can prevent some of those things. What do I eat or not eat, right? And then how do you get started, right? Like, what do I do first? And so I'm going to go through all of those things and we can move forward and have a really successful kind of clean up our diet and clean up our body in January, and so that we can start rolling into like a healthier spring break and a better looking body for spring, and then we can keep it that way through summer, and I can teach through the year like how to not undo every time you do the work, right? So it's going to take some work. Let's not undo it in 2 months, right? What do we need to do to not undo it? Okay, so let's get started. I know I'm rambling. Got your water? Let's go. So, what is this whole fasting thing and juice cleansing and protein sparing? And what do I need to worry about? So, there's a lot of reasons for fasting, and there's a lot of reasons for detox, and there's a lot of reasons to detox your body. There's a lot of reasons to clean up whatever it is that you're doing and reset your body. So let's talk about fasting for just a minute. Complete fasting has been done for eons and eons. It was done in the Bible. It's mentioned all over the place in scripture. And so it's one of those places that as a Christian, we can come to God and use and lean on Him, use prayer instead of food. Now, Jesus hung out for 40 days without food. I am not suggesting that that is what you need to do at all. That is not what this video is about at all. It may be something that you consider. It's certainly something that I'm considering, not 40 days, but maybe a 21-day modified fast. So there's a lot of ways that we can fast, and we can fast and just use broth and juices, like vegetable juices and water, and maybe a little bit of coffee. And we can move through on a multivitamin and move through many days without really having to worry too much. Yes, there'll be hunger, and we'll talk about the manifestations of that in just a minute. But that is one thing that we can do. And one of the things that we know about fasting over time is it can really reset your insulin demand and your insulin resistance. So if you're leaning into that diabetic, pre-diabetic space, or maybe you don't know if you are, but maybe you suspect that you are, this might be something that you can think about. So what about just the detox thing, like where people go on juice cleanses, or and they drink fruit juice for a week, or they just drink smoothies all week or something like that. So there's some ups and downs to that too, right? Like fruit juice and fruit smoothies are just a ton of sugar. And so they're not necessarily designed to actually help your body detox. So I'm going to suggest to you that there are some ways to do some shakes and smoothies that are healthier than just opening your basic bottle of cranberry juice or orange juice and drinking a ton of that for 2 weeks. There's definitely a much more organized way to do that. And I've set up an entire January reset for a 4-week reset that includes gut healing, which we're going to talk about in just a minute, and a liver functioning, a liver detox that can take you through and make sure that your body has everything that it needs to do the job. And that takes us into the second thing I want to talk about really, um, is the main two principles of functional medicine. And that is, what's aggravating your system? What food are you putting in that's aggravating your system? And does your diet provide everything that you need? So, one of the first principles about detoxing and fasting and functional medicine and cleaning up and resetting, or whatever word you want to use, is taking out things instead of just adding in a bunch of things, right? We think we need to add in things, but sometimes um, to clean things up, we need to take things out, right? Like taking out the trash. So we need to take out some of the aggravating foods. And for a lot of us, it can be include gluten, right? But maybe it's just bread products and the ultra processed complex carbohydrates that really do have a lot more sugar, really don't have a lot of nutrients, don't have a lot of fiber, really don't bring a lot to the table in terms of nutrition, right? So that's just processed breads and pastas and all of those things, even whole grain, right? So so it's taking things out. Maybe it's milk and cheese for you. Maybe you love cheese, but you know that it aggravates your stomach. Maybe it's cow's milk. Maybe those are things that we need to put aside for a little while, so that your body can like calm down. Those things can create inflammation. The next ones are probably a little bit less common among y'all, but it can be soy, it can be tree nuts. It can be peanuts, which are actually part of the legume or soy family. I know I don't do really well with beans or grains for that matter, so I don't eat a lot of those anyway on the regular, because they just don't feel good. And so we have to figure out, that's a very individual thing, what needs to be taken out. Yes, there are tests. Yes, there's testing. That's not what I'm here for today to talk about. But one of the things that you need to understand, regardless of all of that, is that your body already detoxes itself every single day, right? We already have the organs, including the stomach, the intestines, your liver, your kidneys. All of those things work together to take out hundreds of toxins every single day. So, the goal of functional medicine is, how do I get those things to function optimally? And when we do juice only and we miss some protein, or we just do water and we don't add, again, any amino acids from protein or collagen or anything like that in, we may be missing some key components to the detoxification mechanisms in our body. So basically, what we're doing is we're asking our body to detox, but we're not giving it what it needs. It's like pushing on the accelerator when you have an absolutely empty tank of gas, right? It's not going to go anywhere. And so that's why I've never been a real big fan of just this juice cleansing piece or just water fasts because I just don't think that our body is going to get what it needs to keep doing what it does. We want to spare those proteins. Yes, there is a place for some 40 short-term 40-hour fasts that help blow through some bad and ugly proteins and change your whole body around. And that's Jason Fung's work with type 2 diabetes. So there's some benefits that can come out of that. But I think over the overall and over a longer haul, like 21 days or 30 days all of January, 31 days of January, that there's a way that you can do this and it's sustainable and you're not going to feel so crappy 2 or 3 days in, right? So just remember that your body already knows how to detox. We just need to optimize what it has in order to do its job, right? We want to put in that high octane fuel into your body, into your car, like into your car, right? So number 3 is gut function. And we really want to focus on gut health first. And here's why. Assume you've not been eating great or you've been taking some antibiotics or whatever, and your gut is leaky. Even if you're not sure and you haven't been doing things right or whatever, and you've been drinking a little too much alcohol and maybe too much coffee, just assume you've got a little bit of a leaky gut going on. So if we start to amp up our liver's ability to detoxify, and it starts pushing out more toxins from our fat cells and more toxins from our body into a leaky gut, what's going to happen? It's like it's going to leak back out into our own body. So we're just going to reabsorb it. That's not so smart, right? So let's get our gut in good order first. Let's clean up the leaky gut. Let's repair the lining of the gut for a couple weeks before we do our liver detox support, right? So, and I call it detox support because that's what we're doing. We're just supporting the function that's already there. Our body innately, God put this thing together in such a way that it already takes care of the trash, right? And so that's why I want to make sure that we're going to do a gut healing first, and then the protocol that I put together um, that's available. You'll do 2 weeks of Inflammacor and Glutashield and a good probiotic for a couple weeks, really get your gut in a good place, and then dive into a core restore that does a little bit more support for the other levels of detoxification in your body. All right. So what is this whole liver detox anyway? I alluded to it a little bit um, about really just improving function, right? We really just want to improve our liver function as opposed to actually going inside every cell and taking like a scrub brush in there, right? That's not what we want to do. Our body knows how to do that already, right? So what about activated charcoal and bentonite clay and some of these things? I'm not opposed to you using those things, particularly if you've had a bad night at alcohol or something like that. Um, or food poisoning, like there's some good places and there's some good reasons to use that. But on the regular, it can really start impeding your body's ability to absorb minerals and certain vitamins. And it will bind up, particularly, it will bind up those minerals that your body really needs to do detox. And fiber can do some of the same things without such an impact on your nutrition. So soluble fiber that you find in vegetables, that kind of thing, chia seeds, those kind of things, that's where you're going to really get your bang for your buck in terms of adding things in. Even some ground flaxseed is a good fiber thing for you to add in. So let's talk about positive side effects. And then we'll talk about negative in just a minute. But I think what you'll find is when you start to detox, yes, the first 2 to 4 days are going to kind of not be so fun, right? They're going to suck. Um, um, but I think after that, it's just your body shifting over into not having that immediate sugar and the toxicity of sugar being like a higher addictive value than even cocaine in some studies. So the sugar thing from the ultra processed food, your taste buds take about 3 days to kind of shift to that more natural, clean, a little bit more bitter flavors from your vegetables than such that high salt, high sugar from your ultra processed foods. And so the positive side is that you're going to ultimately you're going to gain some clarity, like brain fog goes away. You'll get into a better fat burning state, so you might drop a couple pounds. You can normalize your blood sugar and your insulin levels. So if you're leaning into that type 2 diabetes space, cutting back on ultra processed carbohydrates and just putting in bare minimums of protein and bare minimums of fat for a few days will help your body actually normalize its resistance to insulin. It can start that process. And like I said, Jason Fung's book, Ultimate Guide to Fasting, is really the Bible for that, and that's again for another podcast. But just know that that can start happening, and you'll find that you have decreased inflammation, less joint pain, less achy, better sleep ultimately. Negative side effects. Okay. Make sure you have a ton of water and maybe a little sea salt in that water, just like if you have like a little grinder thing, right? Just like a little twist on the grinder into your water. Most of us drink filtered water from the fridge that does not have a lot of minerals in it, and we need to replace those as we drink our water. That will help diminish some of the headaches. Nausea. Yes, probably because your gallbladder has been overworked and you may need to add in some digestive enzymes. Um, and then just make sure that you're always drinking some water, some good turmeric or ginger tea, some chamomile tea, maybe peppermint tea can help calm everything. Ginger tea is great for calming your stomach. So that would be another way, another thing that you can add in. And teas have lots of phytonutrients that are beneficial for detoxification in the long run. What about your skin, right? Your skin can erupt when we do these detoxification things. And just remember that whatever's happening on the inside may show up on the outside. So if you've had a rough go with your gut, then that also may show up on your skin. So just know it's probably temporary. It's going to go away. Treat your skin nice. I have great skincare regimen for you. Just reach out. I can help you with all those things in skin cycling that will help you detox your skin too in a different way. And I'm going to talk about that more in the group. So we'll have like some special days for that. Um, and then I guess then obviously changes in bowel movements. Some people experience a lot more, some people experience less. It's very individual what you will experience with some of that. However, most of it should normalize out over the first week. And if it doesn't, you can always reach out. What about our emotions? So we need to learn how to manage our emotions. And I'm going to talk about this in just a minute under steps getting started. But just know that the positive upshot for you becoming moody is that you will also become more aware of what and how you're using your food to dampen your emotions and what emotions you may be dampening. So just give that a little food for thought. It doesn't have to be scary, but just a little food for thought. And so what are you going to eat? Well, if you've been around or been hanging around me or been listening to any of my podcasts, you know that I am all about protein and veggies, right? And whether you are a vegetarian, a vegan, whatever, and I am not, and everybody knows that I am a carnivore and veggies all day long, every day. Um, that's kind of where I hang out. That's what makes me feel good. Veggie, heavier carbs for me is a potato, parsnips, turnips, beets, that kind of thing. Do great with that. Don't do so great with grains and beans. So that's what works for my body. So I'm sure that there's quite a few of you out there that will work with, that you can work with that. If you feel good when you add in some quinoa or rice or something that's kind of neutral in the grains that doesn't have and create so much inflammation as a gluten, a wheat, or a rye or something like that. That's great. And if you do great with your legumes, if you're a vegetarian or vegan, you do great with legumes. You don't get more inflammation from them. Terrific. Go for it. Um, so protein and veggies is what I want you to focus on, but that doesn't mean that you can't have a potato or sweet potato or something like that in small amounts. And again, this is all about detox and cleaning up. This is not about fasting. That's a different thing. So fasting is, we're going to just do broth and we're going to do like a bone broth or some collagen maybe, and tea and water and some vegetable juices. Okay. So those are two different things, right? Steps to get started. Where am I going to start? First, if you're going to use some of my products from Full Script, like I said, there's a whole January reset protocol on there. And so that kit is right on Full Script, and I will put the link in the show notes below. Plan your meals for the next 2 to 4 weeks, right? Get everything that you need into your freezer if you can in terms of protein, right? If you can just hit Costco or wherever you buy all of your protein, maybe you need to hit Whole Foods and like spend your month's worth of money right today and get it all in the freezer. Then you'll have it and you don't have to take all these extra trips to the store. I like to stock up on protein a couple weeks at a time. That way also if Cooper decides to stop by, I always have some something in my freezer for my 17-year-old growing boy athlete. Um, and so think about your proteins, right? That's what needs to get planned. Vegetables and potatoes and sides are always easy if the protein is made, or at least either made and frozen, right? Or at least you have something to go off of in the freezer instead of grabbing that pizza, right? And then batch cooking, right? Batch cooking, I'm a big fan, and that goes for anybody. And I know all y'all are out there rolling your eyes who are single, like, I don't want to cook all this stuff. It's going to go bad. Just put it in single Ziplocs, throw it in your freezer, and you can pull it out and use it as you need it. And you don't have to get bored because you can do chicken this week and steak next week and maybe some soup the following. Like, you can really mix it up and it works out really well for you. So let's think about planning. Take a little bit of time, even if it's January 1st that you do a little bit of planning, take a little time. Maybe you can do it Saturday morning before you go out to your big party, right? So take a little time and do a little bit of planning. Or maybe you're listening to this after the new year. Fine. Just take a minute, take a half an hour and plan. Take a half an hour and plan. Yes, get all your protein ahead, throw it in the freezer. And now I want to talk about managing your emotions around food. So one of the things that happens to many of you, and it's happened to me too. It's just something um, that I've gotten a hold of. And if you have listened, like I said, if you've watched my stories, then managing my emotions and has been a big chunk of what I do and how I can help you. But we use food to dampen our emotions. I know that that's not a surprise. However, when you are in a place where either you're sick or you really want to learn how to manage your body better and manage your health better through nutrition and through functional medicine, then we're going to also have to manage our emotions along the way. And just because we're doing this thing in January doesn't mean it's forever. It doesn't mean that there's never a piece of key lime pie or pecan pie or any of those things, right? It doesn't mean that that's never. It just means not now. So if you can think about that, first of all, it doesn't mean never, it just means not now. And then if you can think about writing down, maybe we always have our phones with us. Maybe you just keep a note like, oh man, I'm so hungry and I really want to grab a blah, 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 whatever it is that's not really part of what we're doing here. Um, just take note of things that happened before it and things how you felt around it. Maybe at the end of the day, you need to do some journaling. Take a little bit of time and slow down. And yes, even you have time. I have time to do this. We all have 24 in a day, and we each decide how those hours are going to play out. And so taking 10 minutes in the morning or 15 or an hour if you have the habit to get your head wrapped around your emotions and wrapped around those things, you're going to have a better outcome. For me, it just means when I'm ready to dive into the cabinet that I maybe spend a few minutes in prayer and like, okay, what is this about? And how am I feeling? And why did I act that way? And why did I react that way? Where is that coming from? Is it coming out of some old programs, right? If you go into my down into my podcast, you'll find some stuff about programs and value systems. And is this some sort of old program that's surfacing that I'm still damping down with food? Um, or did something uncomfortable happen? Or did something just happen? Like life happens, right? So, getting a handle on this could be a huge positive outcome. And as a Christian, for me, I'm walking into this detox slash fasting over the next at least 21 to 30 days. I'm walking into this hoping to become closer to God and be able to hear Him better. And so that is definitely going to happen as I manage my emotions in a different way and manage my food in a different way and manage my life in a different way um, through this. So that's what I have for you today. I know that this was just a little bit longer than normal and definitely not as long as I had thought it was going to go. However, I think that I've hit all the high points so that you can really get started in a positive way around this whole detox thing and putting some fasting things into your life, right? I hope that like I said, I hope that all kind of sips out in a positive way for you. And reach out if you have questions. Join our Facebook group. I'd love to have you there. I'd love to answer any questions. So yeah, reach out. Love you guys. Blessings. Bye.